Hello, this is Brother Joseph. I wanted to talk to you today quickly about the fallout after the supposed excommunication of the SSPX. There's been a lot of response by modernist Catholics and even some traditionalists. The response has been basically to say, you must obey. No discussion of theology or even a slight question of whether or not the Pope or any of the bishops or any of the cardinals could be wrong, any of the priests could be wrong. It's all one big obey blindly. That's all that matters. This is just like solo fide and solo faith alone, Bible alone teaching. This is obedience alone. That's all it is. Anytime you throw that word alone next to another term in theology, you run a risk. Keyword is run a risk. I know Christ alone is where we receive our grace and where we're saved. But again, there's a real risk of danger, and for this, it's an obvious risk. I did an article, Do Not Follow, 3-4 years ago, and in it I document, and I'll put the link in the description, I document the fact that popes didn't always agree with each other. Look at the Arian crisis. The Pope excommunicated Athanasius. Athanasius was right, he became a saint. That Pope that did that, he was wrong, obviously wrong. You can't side with the Arians. You can't, that's not Christian. But more than 80% of the church did. A lot of our crisis today is akin to it. It's just like it. Popes didn't always agree with each other. They disagreed. There have been anti-popes, over 40. From some of the lists I've seen. All you need is one to know that a pope can be wrong. And if you read Vatican I, one of the requirements for any kind of infallible statement from the pope is that the statement has to be not new, but from the tradition. It cannot be new. If it's a new statement, it is disqualified. He can't just say anything he wants to have it be infallible. No, he has to not just say it from the chair. It has to be from the tradition. It cannot be new. That's made explicit, and I'll link that as well in the description. So this obedience alone push by modernists, by some traditionalists, is just terrible and wrong. It's also lazy. Come on. It's so lazy. Avoiding any kind of theological discussion and just saying obey. That's what cult people do. People who have cults do that. That's what tyrannical governments do. Tyrannical cultures. Obey or else. There's nothing good from this. So it's just sick. Be careful of it. Don't slip into a obedience alone mentality. Nowhere do we see that in salvation history at all, ever. The prophets, the saints were all, not all, but a good number of the prophets, a good number of the saints. You see it when they rose up in crisis. They went against the grain. Some of them martyred. Because by their own people. I like to point to Elijah as an example, because the whole of Israel went towards Baalism, nearly the whole. He was so bad that he said of himself that it's just me, I'm alone. And the Lord told him there's a few thousand, which is a very, very small number, that are still faithful that he didn't know about. But he went against the king, he went against the queen, he went against the priests that caved and bent their knee to Baal. Look at Jeremiah. during his time. Again, Baal worship was an issue. That's clear from chapter 7, Jeremiah's sermon at the gates of the city, when he called them out. But Jeremiah also, he was alone. He went against the king. He went against the priests. He went against the whole city just about. There were very few that believed him. And look what happened. He was validated for his, he was vindicated, I should say, for what he was preaching. He became a saint. We could keep going. John the Baptist, too. I mean, look at him. Look at the apostles. They were hauled in Acts chapter 4 and 5. They're hauled in before the religious leaders of their day. We're told by Christ, if blind leads blind, don't fall, you both fall into a ditch. He said of the religious leaders of that day, do not follow them. That's why I labeled my article, Do Not Follow. It's a direct quote from Jesus on how to respond to bad religious leaders. He told us, he taught us to say, to not follow. So there's just so much to it. There's so much to it. But I wanted to put that on the table. Oh, one more thing. We see this culminate in the life of Christ at the crucifixion. After he was tried by Rome, and I got this in Do Not Follow as well. Caesar, the Governor Pilate, put Jesus before the people. He tried him before the people. He said, what should I do with this one? And in this whole public dynamic of the trial, when Jesus was in the public and Pilate was calling on the crowd, it was Caiaphas, the high priest, that was leading the crowd. He's the one that was first said, crucify him, then everyone else followed him. The error of obedience alone, absolute obedience, was present then. That's why the crowd changed. Remember, they welcomed him in on Sunday, Palm Sunday, the first day of the week. They welcomed him in with palms, declaring him king, saying, Hosanna in the highest. But when the Pope of that day spoke, what happened? All the attitudes changed. Everyone changed. Okay? Everyone flipped. I know there's a lot of theories about that, but they're weak. It was very clear. It was it's a theme throughout. The people had their eyes on man and not God. And we're warned in the Bible about this. We're to have our eyes on God. We're to look for the Messiah. We look to the Messiah, not man. And I like what Acts 4 and 5, it really brings it home. We must obey God rather than man. And from out of that, a very common statement has come about, which is a very wise statement. There where man and God disagree, we must obey God over man. I'll try obedience, and I'll be obedient if it's consistent with what the Lord has taught us. But the minute man deviates from what God is teaching, and we see throughout salvation history, it's happened, we must obey God over man, even at the cost of our lives. And that is a theme throughout the whole of salvation of history. Well, that's all I got for you. Trying to wrap this up, and I keep coming back to it, but be careful of this error, and take care of yourselves. And as always, God bless.